In this video, we're going to be breaking down the exact sales framework that me and my team use to sell over $10 million in coaching programs in under 2 years. Now, before I hop into the meat and potatoes of why you guys are here, I wanted to give a brief background of how this all started and everything. I met a sales mentor right here back in late 2020, started working with him as a sales rep. Sales rep turned into a part-time sales coach, into a full-time sales coach, and eventually working with him full-time to run the delivery and eventually all of the operations for the business. This is once again my sales mentor, ended up building a fairly decent sized team, and this led to a decent amount of accolades, such as being named as the 332nd fastest growing company in the US in 2022, and also receiving awards such as the 2 Comma Club X, which represents doing $10 million with one single funnel. So why am I sharing this with you? Because I want to give some validity behind the things that I'm about to share with you when it comes to the sales framework that we used during this time period. So before I get into the specifics of the sales frameworks, there are some general recommendations that are really important to do. Number one, we highly recommend doing Zoom rather than just phone calls. The reason why is because on Zoom, you can actually look at the person, you can understand intonations, you look at facial features. It gives you so many more tools on your tool belt to close the deal rather than solely being able to go over phone. So that's one thing. Another thing as well is record all of your calls. Recording it will allow you to not only have protection if anything ever happens, but more importantly, for you to be able to understand what is going well and what is not going well. And then obviously making sure you are also reviewing your demos too. This is the best way to improve within your sales presentation and even identify holes in the boat, not only within your own presentation, but especially as you're possibly looking to grow and scale a team. It is one of the most pivotal things that you should be doing within that. So diving into the actual sales framework now, we split up into 5 different sections. Number 1, intro. Number 2, fact finding. Number 3, presentation. Other people might call this the demo, whatever it is. I'll touch on why I like to call it presentation here in a minute. Number 4, test close. And then number 5. For number 1, once again, it is intro. So with the intro, it is very basic, not a whole lot. The main purpose is to welcome the person and just start off with a brief chat. Of course, everyone's going to have their different sales skills. The purpose of this brief chat is you're going to be able to use this to get an initial understanding of the person. Are they A-type, A to B, hey, give me the information, let's get down to business? Are they a talker? Are they more reserved? Are they skeptical? The reason why is because as you just have this, most people aren't really seeing this as salesy or anything like that. And you're just able to have a little conversation that gives you more knowledge, more ammo on your tool belt that you could then use in order to close the person. Because ultimately, when you're speaking with a person, the way that I talk to Granny Smith is going to be different than that of the way I talk to super high level sales entrepreneur or business owner, different than that of the 25-year-old kid or 18-year-old kid that's looking to get started in it. So you understanding this information from the get-go gives you more of an advantage to adjust your communication style, demeanor. Obviously, you're always going to stay yourself, but having that ability is really important. So getting into specific examples, it's really simple. Hey, Johnny, how are you? Hey, how you doing? Glad to hear. One that I would always like to do, of course, some people don't like this, things too chit-chatty. I generally like it because I enjoy traveling. I enjoy hearing people from all over the world. I typically will relate to this with people. I always say, hey, so where are you calling from, by the way? You can go straight to business. I like to do this because, once again, it gives you more of an initial understanding of the person and helps you out from the beginning. Also within the intro, you want to make sure you set the tone of the call, okay? This here gives you, once again, more information, understand how you best want to set that tone. Understanding, I talked about this. Everyone's sales style is different. Some people, you might be more A to B. Some people might be more fluffy, more excited, more whatever it is. Some people might be more reserved, just all that. So you as a salesperson, understand your natural likings and adjust it accordingly. Understand that you will, once again, as I discussed, need to adjust. I like to call it being a chameleon based on the person that you're speaking with. Okay. Many ways to achieve the outcome. Sold prospects, same exact thing I was saying before. You don't need to only have a sales approach this way. There are many ways to essentially sell a person on that. Choose a tactic you want to go with. Once again, you want to establish authority, regardless of what communication style you have, what sales type you are naturally inclined towards. You want to make sure you come off as a person understands the information which you're selling. And then number 2, you come off as a person that can be trusted to actually guide them towards that direction that they're needing to. And that typically comes with confidence, knowledge of the product, and even in the little intonations, making sure you are not constantly adding filler words. You have a very clear path of where you're taking them and such like that. And even guiding the conversation too helps establish authority. And then the last part of this intro section is an overview of the call. Hey, Johnny, so before we kind of dive into everything, just want to give you an overview of essentially what the call is. First section, I just want to ask you some questions to understand where you're at now, exactly what you're looking for. And then ultimately, if it is a good fit, there's something that we have that could help you get there, then we'll kind of dive into more of the specifics of the product. And then at the end, if everything makes sense, I'll ask you to go ahead and join, and we'll determine if it makes sense for you to do so based on what you're looking for. Awesome. Something as simple as that. Obviously, it will vary by the offer, the person you're speaking with. As a whole, though, giving an overview of the call helps establish his authority and makes it very clear, look, this guy knows what he's doing. He has a clear path, and this is what we're going to be doing during this call. So this is, once again, the first section, which is the intro. Moving to the second section, fact finding. One of the first things you'll typically do, depending on how far of a journey this person has come, is just kind of recap where this prospect has been. So, hey, I know that you went ahead and you saw our stuff on Facebook, went ahead and gave us your information. You spoke with Billy and you guys had the conversation. And now obviously we're here talking. One of the first things I wanted to ask you, and then you could dive into the actual conversation. So that is typically how you can start it. Before I get into the rest of this fact finding section, I do want to add one thing to make sure it's very clear to you. The fact finding is arguably one of the most important parts of the entire call. Now, why is this the case? People buy things to solve a problem. And ultimately, if you do not understand their problem, it is so much more difficult for you to sell them. Many amateur salespeople just start coming, oh, you need to buy this because of this reason, that reason. No, you need to understand what is their problem. Not only the problem that they actually have, but the problem that they perceive themselves to have. Because you have to remember, people will make buying decisions based on what they perceive. So even though they might have blind spots, whatever it is, you have to understand what they think is the problem, because eventually you will need to position your product as the solution to that problem. One analogy I like to use, if you don't have fact-finding section dialed in, you don't have the right questions, it's like going to the shooting range. You get put in front of the thing. So you understand the target's somewhere that way, but you have a blindfold on, you don't have an understanding of exactly where it is, how to shoot and everything. So you're significantly disadvantaging yourself within that. Okay. I have the Sandra Bullock movie. You can kind of put a mental picture there. Coming into the next part of the fact finding, general high-level thoughts of what you want to do. You need to become genuinely interested in the other person, right? Now, what does this mean? Many salespeople will look at the prospect on the other side just as a number, just as a commission check, anything like that. Now, don't get me wrong. Using things as external motivation to do more and everything can be helpful. If you solely care about selling the person and not genuinely caring about what is in their best interest and helping them, most people will be able to sniff through that very quickly, and it will hurt your ability to close. So first things first, you need to actually care about them, right? What do they want? What are they looking for? And what is going to help them get to that next step and help them improve their life depending on whatever you're selling. So rather than going and just talking as well, this section is really important for you to actually listen and understand what they are saying. Okay. Now, and this is what I was saying before too, not only of what they say, but also things that they don't say, what their intonations are giving, what their facial features are doing, stuff that they're maybe not addressing. This is really important for you to understand. Within this section, part 2, fact finding, you're also not selling at this point. No selling. If they start asking questions about, hey, well, can you help me with this? Redirect it and start asking questions again. You can read this here. It's just talking about how you can redirect and kind of flow it back into it. Even if you don't want to sell it all in this part, okay? You don't want to say, oh, well, this is, I know we're going to be able to do this, this, and this, then we'll go with it. Don't even start selling. Simply ask questions in this phase and just genuinely get to know the person, understand their needs and wants. Now, as the salesperson, what are the items, the questions that you need to understand about the person? Every single offer is going to be different. There's certain things, questions, framing, all that stuff. At a high level, there's 3 things that you need to understand. Where's the person now? Where do they want to be? And why haven't they gotten there? Okay. So within where are they now, pretty self-explanatory. This could be job. If you're selling something financial, it could be weight. If you're doing weight loss, whatever it is, where do they want to be? So this is their goal, right? On top of that too, also remember not only what is that thing, but how is this going to change your life? Why is it important for them to achieve this? And then why haven't they gotten there? This is talking, right? So where are they now? Where do they want to be? And why haven't they gotten there is the bridge. I want you to understand, if a person had everything that they needed to be successful, they would have already done it themselves. So whether it be they don't have the staircase to go from here to here, maybe they don't have that. They don't have the knowledge. They don't have the tools. Maybe they have this, but they don't have the motivation. They need accountability, whatever it is. They're missing something. So within this, you have to understand this very deeply, because this is ultimately where you're going to be coming in. Because if the gap between where they are now and where they want to be. Yeah, where they want to be might be this big old thing, but if it doesn't seem that far away, there's not that big of a problem between these two. Why in the world would a person pay you $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 to go ahead and purchase your services if it's only this far away? So during this section, not only are you gathering the information, but you're making it crystal clear that they are very far and they have no clue, or they need help to some degree to go from here where they are now to where they want to be. And this is also what you're going to be using to sell them, right? As you're going through, I'm going to touch upon it more inside the presentation section. You need to understand what are the main things that have held them back in the past, and what do they feel that if they had, they could actually get to the next step. Because when you're going through your presentation, this is what you're going to be presenting on. Hey, you told me X is one of the biggest reasons why in the past you haven't been able to get to the next level, right? Okay, got it. Check this out. And then you're framing your product as the solution to that, and then you'll be able to go there. I'll touch upon that more in a second. That is something very important that you need to, beginning, before you get into the presentation, you need to understand this data. Vitally important. Here are a couple example fact-finding questions. How long have you been looking to get into blank? How many years have you been doing blank? What do you do for work now? What would you like to do in the long term? You can read through the rest of these questions. One thing that's important to understand, most junior salespeople ask the questions, they'll stay on the surface level. They won't actually listen to what the other person's saying. You need to listen to what the other person's saying. And then really, and this is where genuinely caring and genuinely seeking to understand and know the person is important, because if a person tells you, hey, this, but you can tell it leads into this other part of the conversation, amateur salespeople just be, okay, I got the answer to this question. Let's move on to the next question so I can tick my box. No, like actually have a conversation with the person. Start going down. They said X, Y, and Z is the problem. Oh, well, explain a little bit more X. Okay. Why was X a problem? Okay. What were the hard parts about that? And really start diving deeper. The deeper you go in the questions, the better it is as a whole. So you can pause, check out a couple of these other fact-finding questions. Once you've gone through the fact-finding, you then will be transitioning into the presentation. Now, the transition to the presentation goes as such. Number one, you want to make a big claim. A big claim is essentially, as it states, it's a claim that is big, that's out there, that is typically tied to their goal. Hey, Johnny, I know you said your goal is to get to $10,000 a month. I can tell you, based on everything you shared with me, I feel that you're a good fit, and I know that we can help get you to that 10K a month mark. That's a big claim. Once you do that, you then want to get an upfront commitment from them. This is really, really important, you guys. The upfront commitment is you getting a commitment agreement from them before you jump into the presentation, before you go through the closing, that if all of these things are met, you will get started with us. Now, what would that look like? Hey, I know obviously your goal is to get to $10,000 a month. And you said, some of the main problems is you're not really sure what steps you need to take, are you have a little bit of trouble running Facebook ads. And on top of that too, it's tough given how busy you are with accountability. So once again, to make sure we're on the same page, if I actually had a solution that helped give you a clear step-by-step path, that helped you master running Facebook ads and gave you accountability, everything you needed basically. And on top of that, it made financial sense and is everything that you're looking for. Would you be willing and ready to move forward with us at the end of this call and actually get started? So that would be an example right there of an upfront commitment of what it is. Now, what you're doing is that you're getting, and by the way, you do not want to move on until you get a solid yes on this. The person's like, yeah, okay, got it. So just to make sure we're on the same page then, if all of these things were there and made financial sense and all that, you would want to move forward, yes? And then you want to get a strong yes. You don't get a strong yes from that, you're missing something, or the person just isn't ready. Because what you're saying is, hey, if everything really met exactly what you're looking for, would you move forward? If a person's telling you, why in the world would you waste your time? Like, if a person's going to tell you, no, if everything that I need is not met and you make financial sense for me, I don't want to move forward. Don't waste your time. You can have that. Okay, got it. So there's a lot of other paths that, just for the sake of time on this video, I don't want to get too long. Doing something like this is very important because, number one, you're setting in the frame of the mind of the prospect. Oh, wow, I'm actually taking this seriously, as if I'm making a decision, number one. Number two, you're also getting a commitment. So then at the end, it's like, I don't know. And inside of the presentation section, which we're going to talk about next, you're going to be tying down, right? Because you're framing this upfront commitment by saying, hey, if I solve this, this, and this, which is the big problems that they told you, the biggest things holding them back, right? You're getting their agreement that if you solve these things for them and you have it make financial sense, that they will move forward. That's the agreement that you're getting in the upfront commitment. Inside the presentation section, you are going to get them to agree that you solve these three problems, or whatever amount it is. You're going to get them to agree.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's Chris. A lot of you leave comments and send DMs to me telling me that you need help. Do me a favor. I'm going to tell you the best way to get a hold of me. Shoot me a text message right now at 949-990-5808. Once again, that's 949-990-5808. I'll help you with whatever you guys need. I got your back. Let's get back to the video.
Agree that you have the solution that they're looking for and this is what they want. Now when you get to the end, they close and they're scared, they have some sort of limiting belief. You can go back and say, hey, hold on, Johnny, in the beginning you told me if I solved X, Y, and Z and it made financial sense that you'd want to move forward. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. So just to make sure we're on the same page, when we were talking before, you said that, this was solved, this was solved, and this was solved, right? Okay, got it. And financially we know that this makes sense for you, right? Okay, so, and then you can start doing that, and now you have more leverage as a salesperson inside of the closing section. So very, very important, before you transition into the presentation from the fact finding section, get the upfront commitment. Once you've got the upfront commitment, you just want to double check on two things. Make sure any other decision maker that needs to be there is there. Somebody said, hey, so before we get into the specifics of it, is there anybody else that needs, and ideally you would have already filtered this out beforehand on a previous call or in a VSL, pre-call, whatever it is. You want to make sure that everyone that needs to be there to move forward is there. So, hey, just to make sure before we actually get into everything, is there anybody else that needs to be here to make a decision if you want to move forward with us today? And just ask as simple as that. And if the decision maker is not there, pause, reschedule, and get another time. If the decision maker is like in another room, like get them to come in and run through it. But ultimately, if the decision maker is not there, do not go through the presentation. I'm telling you, I've done a lot of these. I've worked with a lot of people. Don't do the presentation. Book a time where you, the prospect, and the other decision maker can be there. All decision makers need to be there on the call, because if you're going to take the time to go through, walk it, you need to make sure that's done. Okay. Lastly, you want to make sure you're good on time. So we've done the big claim. We've got the upfront commitment. They've agreed. A strong yes. And then they've confirmed, yep, all decision makers are here. You just want to confirm on time, because sometimes, and by the way, this fact finding intro, 2 to 10 minutes typically. Fact finding is kind of where the meat and potatoes are going to be. This could be 10, 15, 20 minutes, depending on kind of what the product is and everything like that. So you just want to make sure you have more than enough time to go through your presentation on everything, because it is one of the worst things. Everything's going well. You're getting towards the end of it. Momentum's positive, and the person's like, hey, I have a hard stop in 5 minutes because we only blocked off an hour. Or you blocked off an hour, and the person's like, hey, by the way, I have a hard stop in 5 minutes because they only allocated 45 minutes. That's the worst, because it makes things a lot more difficult. So make sure you're good on time before you transition. Once again, this is step 2, fact finding. One of the most important parts. Make sure you dial this in. Moving on to step 3, presentation. Now, before I talked and I was explaining that presentation could also be used synonymously with demo, the demonstration section. The reason why I like to use the word presentation is because demo is just, hey, this is an AirPod. It does this. It's very basic. As you're going through, you want to make the presentation come to life. You want to cater these things that you're showing to the person, their needs, their wants. Now, as you're getting into the presentation, you need to know people need to believe and see themselves getting success in your program or service for them to move forward. If they don't believe that they could actually achieve success in your program, they're not going to move forward. So how do we actually get these people to believe and see themselves being successful inside of your product, your service, whatever it is? The way we do that is, number one, social proof. This includes testimonials, case studies, things along those lines, showcasing the product, and then also asking questions to them and making sure you're on the same page. Moving on to the next part, one of the best quotes I've ever, and pieces of advice I've ever received is this, and I want you to remember this. If I, Chris Berry, tell somebody something, they are going to think that I'm lying. If that person says it themselves, though, it's the truth, period. I'm going to say that one more time. If I say something, if I tell somebody something, they think that I'm lying, but if they say it themselves, it's the truth. Now, why am I bringing this up? Because as you're going through the presentation, yes, there will be some times where you're going to need to tell people some things, but the majority of time, you need to have the other person say it themselves. Rather than say, oh yeah, this is exactly what you're looking for. You need to frame questions so that the other person is saying, oh, well, yeah, this is exactly what I'm looking for. This is what I want. This will actually help me get to X, Y, and Z. And the way you do that is just by asking questions, and it all stems from the fact finding before. So for example, and I gave one of the examples earlier, let's say we're doing an e-commerce offer, a person we're talking about, they struggle with Facebook ads, they don't understand it. As you're going through the presentation, let's say you're showcasing your product, you're going to say, hey, Johnny, I know one of the things you said before is kind of the hardest roadblocks or hardest parts of you being successful was the Facebook ad section and not understanding how it works, right? Get the agreement, yes. Okay, got it. So check this out. And then you're going to start showcasing your product. Here's this step by step, very clear. We have an ad expert that's going to help you on this. Here's a testimonial of little Billy student who had trouble with ads too, and he was able to do it by following this step, everything like that. Then at the very end, after you show these things, you're going to flip back and say, hey, so Billy, just to make sure we're kind of together on this, based on everything you've seen, I know one of the hardest parts for you previously was the Facebook ads. You having access to all of these resources that I just showed you, do you feel that you'd actually be able to master Facebook ads and be successful with this? And that's exactly how you frame it. And then you get the yes and say, okay, perfect. So if you were to do that, Facebook ads wouldn't be a problem for you and actually achieving success then, right? Okay, got it. And you get the agreement there. And if you don't get a strong agreement there, you got to circle back because there's some sort of hesitation inside of it, something that's unanswered. Once you go ahead and you circle back, you get a solid yes. You have to remember, guys, they told you in the beginning, the upfront commitment, you solve this, this, and this, you make it financially affordable. That's what I was looking for. You have them sold. It's done. It's game over. They've already told you they're ready to get started today if that's the case. And then at the end, you're just going to have to handle limiting beliefs, them being scared, whatever it is. But you solve it and you ask these questions just like I shared with you of, hey, here's stuff that you told this is the problem. Okay, you show it to them. Hey, do you feel that this would solve your problem and actually give you what you're looking for and make this not a roadblock from you being successful? They say yes, not you. It's game over at this point. It's done. And you do this with all three. Their major problems. You got to do it with all of the major problems. Of course, as a whole, you're going to go through a presentation that includes social proof, showcasing the product, high level, all that stuff. Within it, though, you simply get these major things. You're good. That's honestly the most important part of it, because that is the thing that they're saying that they need to see and they need to have in order to achieve success. Coming here, hitting on major roadblocks is exactly what we just talked about. The structure of the presentation will typically start off with some sort of social proof. This could be a testimonial of a specific person. It could be a case study of a person that's done X, Y, and Z. And then once we start with that, we then like to transition and essentially say, hey, so what I'm actually about to walk you through is the same exact step-by-step process that successful Susie over here followed in order to get to $25,000 per month. And it's the same process that the hundreds of students we've worked with have followed as well. And the same process that you'll work following as well. And then you'll transition. Hey, what do you know about X, Y, and Z? I like to give a high level overview of the student journey. Oftentimes people will go too much in the weeds of their product or service. Keep it really simple. Keep it high level for people. Have it be like, hey, here's the simple steps. Here's the 5 to 10 things that you're going to need to do. Step 1, boom, we're going to do this, and put it in buckets. Then once you have it in buckets, then you can start diving deeper, especially depending on what they said their 3 problems were. And then you could go from there. That's typically where you're going the back end of the modules. So you can actually, if you're having a course or anything like that, you kind of dive into the specifics of it all and say, hey, you're not going to do everything because that would take a very long time, but specifically for the main problems that they said, for example, the Facebook ads. Hey, Facebook ads is there. Boom. I would go ahead and open the Facebook ads section that has all of these different modules. That's okay. Facebook ads explain this. I talk about access to this person, that person. I throw in a little case study, testimony, all of that stuff. And then I go ahead and I flip back and say, hey, with all this, do you feel that you have what you need to be successful? So that's out there. Then after that, you also have community support and accountability. If you have this and it's relevant to your program, we like to add this in. It helps people. It's actually a big part of just kind of feeling like you're a part of something bigger. So we like to go through that. And then we like to end it off before we then transition into the test, close, and close with some social proof. We want to have that recency bias to where they're just constantly being flooded with people of them being successful. Ideally, also, if you can get case studies, testimonials, social proof of some sort that demographically matches the person and situationally matches the person as well. The reason why is because, once again, people need to believe and see themselves being successful inside of your program. So the closer you can get to a person that looks like them, that is their age, that has gone through similar problems, they're in the same space as them right now, it makes it a lot easier for them to visualize themselves inside of that there. So that is the presentation section. Step number 4 is the test close. So this is essentially just a temperature check. Before you jump into a swimming pool or a jacuzzi, whatever it is, you typically dip your toe in before, right? Most people don't just dive head first. Same exact thing here. Resistance is a lot easier to handle before the close. Resistance also is just another term used for an objection. Whatever you want to go ahead and use for this. You handling it beforehand, before you do the close, it's a lot easier than after the fact. So if you're seeing any sort of hesitation or anything like that, you doing this with the test close will help you identify and handle that before it becomes a little bit more difficult inside the close section. The test close is just simply, hey, how's everything sounding so far? You want to get a positive response. Hey, yeah, this is awesome. This is what I'm looking for. Again, yeah, it's good. If you get that, something's messed up, go back, fix it, figure it out, start explaining more, and make sure you really get that. Because if you're getting, yeah, that's okay. High probability the person's not going to close. So you messed up on something, gather more information if you need to, and present more things that are needed to. And then once you've gone, hey, how's everything sound so far? You get a good one. By the way, if you get a poor response on this, you need to circle back. Before you go into the close section, go back into, hey, so based on everything you've seen now, how's everything sound so far? Once you get that, then, hey, so do you feel that, all of the stuff I showed you could actually help get you to $10,000 a month mark? Could get you there, not help, could get you there. Okay, awesome. Once you get both of these things, the person's primed. Once again, recency bias, we were hitting them with social proof typically at the end we are hitting them with social proof. You're doing temperature check, everything's good. Now we're going to transition into the close. The way I like to run it is I always like to have them sign a contract first and then go ahead and swipe their card. It makes it nice in a lot of different factors. When we go ahead and have that, you can use DocuSign, PandaDocs, there's a bunch of different ones out there. What we'll typically do is we'll have the contract open, but we'll have the price hidden. So it will just be like, let's say this close section is where the price is. I'll have it like right here where all of the things that they get inside of the program, which is called the value, like you're stacking the value, is all shown there. So, hey, you're going to get these modules, you're going to get this accountability, weekly call. You have all of those things written out on the contract, and that's your value stack. And then at the end, you're going to go ahead and reveal the price after. So once again, value stack, go over all that recency bias. You want to also you want to not overwhelm the fact like, oh my gosh, I can't handle this, but you want to overwhelm, oh my gosh, I'm getting all of these things. I'm getting this, and this. You want to have that sort of effect and feeling as you're getting to the very end. Then after you've done the value stack, so you're getting all of these different things, you're then going to make another big claim. So Johnny, for example, hey, so you get this, and this. What am I trying to tell you with all of these things? I'm trying to tell you that goal of you hitting $10,000 a month, come on, we'll be able to hit this in no time, and you can finally leave your job, focus on this, and then actually be able to travel the world, work remotely like you've always wanted to. So with that said, the total investment for this program is a total of $5,000. Would you like to use debit or credit for this? Now that's kind of getting into more different types of closing. That's more of an assumptive close. So you make the big claim, you transition into the price reveal, and then lastly, you then go into, I'll do price reveal, go into the close, handle that. We'll typically collect the credit card information right there on the contract. So at the very bottom, we'll go ahead and collect it. We'll send the contract over to them. We have them sign it right then and there in front of us. Hey, I just sent it over. Can you confirm that you got that in your email? Oh, you got it? Okay, perfect. So go ahead and just open up the email. There's going to be a button there that says review document. Click that. Okay, awesome. So now you're inside of the agreement, everything. And by the way, as you're doing this, you're sharing your screen too. And I also don't know if I didn't mention, obviously throughout this presentation, you're sharing your screen, you're showing them stuff, you're walking them through all of it. Very important to have these things from social proof, the overview, back-end student journey, back-end modules, all that stuff. So back to here, you're sharing your screen, show the value stack, give them a big claim, you price reveal, you close them, you collect the credit card information, you send it over to them, they get it signed. They sign it right then and there. You confirm you got it on your end. You then obviously process payment. Everything looks good and you're good. And a little bonus, I didn't add this in here, but you can just have this. Once you're done, you always want to make sure there's a next step for the prospect. This is going to open a whole nother can of worms, so I'll keep it very short. Buyer's remorse, typically 48 hours after people buy is when it starts kicking in. So you want to just really start moving quick within it. So right after you get them closed, you always want to book a next step call, onboarding call, something along those lines. So I continue to reinforce the positive buying decision and get them to not overthink, oh no, I just spent all this money, I don't know if it's going to work. They start questioning, they're going to talk to their friends and family. Make it simple, book an onboarding call, have the next step, and just keep them moving quick. That's an other topic. If you guys would like to know more about the tactics and things to do in order to help reduce refunds, buyer's remorse, all that stuff, and also getting success with them, please let me know down in the comments below, and I'd be more than happy to build that out. This right here is the entire framework. Obviously, this is a fairly long video. We're coming 30 minutes in now. Once again, the framework is step one, intro, where we're going to be going through, welcoming the person, setting the tone of the call, establishing authority, and giving an overview. Fact finding, one of the most important parts of the entire call. This is where you're gathering all of the ammunition, everything that you need to know about the prospect to then sell them inside of the presentation section, where we're going to be breaking stuff down. We're not going to be telling them stuff. We're going to be asking them questions and getting them to say it themselves, and just simply providing them the proof, giving them information to come to that assumption themselves. Then before we get into the close, we're dipping our toe in the water, make sure everything looks good. And lastly, we are actually going through the close, collecting their credit card information, swiping the card, and helping change another person's life by getting into your product or service. So everyone, this has been the 8-figure sales framework that we use to close over $10 million in less than 2 years. If you did enjoy this video, please let me know by liking the video and also dropping a comment down below. If you do like this information, please also make sure sure you subscribe because I'm coming out with a bunch of stuff like this. And if there's something specific that you would like to see inside of these videos, maybe it's a certain aspect of the closing process, marketing, any aspect of running a coaching business, please let me know down in the comments below, and I'd be more than happy to make a video on it. Once again, everyone, my name is Chris Berry. This is TD Coach, and we look forward to seeing you on the next video.
Hey guys, I wanted to tell you that you are the true coaches and the real students. You made it till the end of the video. Do me a favor, share this with a friend who wants to go to another level. Also, make sure you like the video, comment below so I know who you are, subscribe, and turn on your notifications for the channel as we will be dropping more valuable content every single day. See you soon.